candle flickers in a cold stone room. You can hear the rain outside, heavy, relentless, drumming against the window. Inside, a woman is in agony. There's the smell of iron. There's the sound of metal scraping metal. And then, a new sound, a buzzing, grinding hum, rhythmic and mechanical, cutting through the air like nothing anyone in 1780 had ever heard before. This is not a lumber yard. This is a hospital. Everyone knows what a chainsaw sounds like. You've heard it in movies, in your neighbor's yard, in the woods. It's the sound of power, the sound of something being cut down. But here's what nobody asks. Why does this machine exist? Who looked at the problem of cutting wood and thought, what we really need is a handheld, motor-powered blade with teeth? Because that's the weird part. Nobody did. The chainsaw wasn't invented for wood at all. So what was it actually built for? And why does the answer involve a delivery room, a pelvis, and absolutely nothing to dull the pain? Let's start with the obvious thing nobody notices. Childbirth used to claim lives at a terrifying rate. Before the 1780s, when a baby couldn't pass through the birth canal, surgeons had only one option, a procedure so severe that most patients never recovered. It was called a symphysiotomy. Doctors would use a small, slow knife to manually cut through the cartilage of a woman's pelvis to widen the canal, by hand, in real time, while the patient was fully conscious. Until 1780, when two Scottish surgeons, John Aitken and James Jeffrey, working in Edinburgh, had a ridiculous, brilliant idea. What if the cutting instrument moved on its own? What if the blade was continuous, mechanical, precise? What they built looked almost nothing like a modern chainsaw. It was small, handheld, and driven by a hand crank, but the principle was identical, a looped chain of serrated teeth moving in a continuous rotation, built not for a forest, built for a body. Think of the original chainsaw like a very aggressive, very tiny bicycle chain, but instead of pedaling a wheel, every link is a small cutting tooth, and they move in a continuous loop around a guiding blade. Today, when you watch a lumberjack drop a 200-year-old oak in 8 seconds, you're actually watching a looped chain making thousands of tiny cuts per minute, each tooth taking a sliver so small you can barely see it. The tree doesn't break, it's erased, slice by microscopic slice, faster than your eye can process. The genius isn't brute force, it's repetition at speed, like 1,000 tiny chisels working in perfect sequence. But here comes the part nobody sees, why this machine changed everything and why it didn't stay in the operating room. In the 1800s, as industrialization hit Europe and North America, lumber demand exploded. Forests needed to come down fast, and someone, looking at Aitken and Jeffrey's medical device, thought this chain mechanism could scale. By 1905, Canadian millwright James Shand had patented the first portable chainsaw designed specifically for trees. By the 1920s, two-man electric chainsaws were clearing forests across the Pacific Northwest. It's like having a nervous system made of teeth and chain. The machine anticipates the material. It doesn't push against the wood, it flows through it. The same principle designed to navigate soft human cartilage turned out to be perfect for navigating hard wood fibers. One invention, two completely opposite applications, 2 centuries apart. The result? A modern chainsaw can fell a 100-foot tree in under 60 seconds, a task that once required 2 men and a handsaw, working for the better part of an hour. The global timber industry today processes over 3.4 billion cubic meters of wood per year, and virtually all of it depends on chain cutting technology. That's like stacking enough lumber to build every house in the United States and then doing it again every single year. One medical instrument, one accidental revolution. If you're finding this fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe to The Curious Mechanism for more hidden engineering stories. But you're probably thinking, a chainsaw is just a sharp thing moving fast. What's so intelligent about that? Here's what most people miss. The The chain isn't just cutting, it's reading the material in real time. Modern chainsaws have automatic chain brakes that activate in milliseconds if the blade kicks back, a dangerous rebound that can happen when the tip of the bar contacts something unexpectedly. The chain doesn't just stop, it stops faster than a human reflex. There are sensors, kickback guards, and inertia triggers built into a machine most people think of as pure aggression. The chainsaw isn't dumb. It knows when to stop before the pressure becomes dangerous to the wood and to you. That design didn't come from lumberjacks. It came from surgeons who understood from the day one that precision matters more than power. Now comes the invisible part, the real engineering. Every chainsaw in production today is designed assuming it will fail, and failing safely is the entire point. The anti-kickback chain has specially shaped depth gauges that limit how deep each tooth can bite, preventing the blade from grabbing too hard and throwing the machine back at the operator. The chain itself is designed to stretch at a predictable rate, so a mechanic can measure wear before it becomes dangerous. There are redundant safety systems layered on top of each other: the hand guard, the chain brake, the throttle interlock, the rear hand guard. A commercial chainsaw chain moves at roughly 60 miles per hour. 60! That's highway speed, in your hands against a hardwood tree. The only reason this doesn't end in disaster every single time is because every component is over-engineered to compensate for every other component potentially failing. The excess isn't waste, it's the entire plan. But here's an uncomfortable truth. Our entire built world depends on chainsaw technology. Every wooden house, every piece of furniture, every paper product, every pallet that moved every product you've ever bought, it starts with a chain cutting through a tree. If chainsaws stopped working tomorrow, the global lumber supply chain would collapse within weeks. Construction would halt. Disaster relief, which depends heavily on chainsaws to clear fallen trees after hurricanes, tornadoes, and floods, would be crippled. We forget it exists precisely because it works too well. It's invisible infrastructure, running constantly, everywhere, completely unnoticed, just like the delivery room in Edinburgh where the whole thing started. The chainsaw isn't just a power tool. It's 2.5 centuries of accidental engineering, a medical instrument that outgrew its origins, crossed an ocean, and became the backbone of modern civilization's relationship with wood. So next time you hear that familiar buzzing roar in a yard somewhere, you're not just hearing a machine cut wood. You're hearing the direct descendant of a surgical device built in a cold stone room in Edinburgh, designed to help bring life into the world. Ordinary sound, extraordinary history, hiding in plain sight. If this changed the way you hear a chainsaw, subscribe to The Curious Mechanism and hit that like button. Share this with someone who thought chainsaws were just a horror movie prop. This is The Curious Mechanism, exploring the invisible systems that keep the world running.